to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Today, Monday, June 30th, 2025, Human Service Committee meeting. Start out with the approval of the minutes for the motion. Okay. All right. HS1, this is a resolution appointing member to the Child Protective Advisory Council, Tricia Clark, for a 3-year term. Lee, would you like to speak to this? Or?
This is, did you just repeat that, Jay? I don't have mine.
Oh, this is the appointing of the new member to the Child Protective Advisory Council. I can speak to it.
Yes, she is a new CPAC member. She is somebody that I met, Phil, actually at the Child Advocate, the group that you're on. I met her there, and she, I think, is very in tune with what we're trying to accomplish in bringing together community people. So we've always had stakeholders like ex officios and other service provider agencies, but I think having Connects Care that represents, lower income fraction of our communities, and they're all over Oswego County, it's going to be a great resource. So, yeah, we are very happy to have Tricia Clark come. Very nice lady, and I was really excited to meet her. Her and I did have a lot to talk about at that meeting. She actually is a friend of another caseworker too, whose mom and her go line dancing together. This is probably too much information to tell, but they go line dancing. So I've heard all along a lot of great things about Patricia, and so she's always been on that track of being a community-based, community-viewed person. So I like that about her background. So just wanted to get that in there.
Okay. I'd like to open up for a motion for discussion. Okay. Go ahead, Herb.
I personally know Tricia Clark there. I know her grandfather, I knew her father, I know the whole family from here. And such an outstanding, hard-working family. She has done great. She's a great basketball player, Cindy Kirk. She's just a very nice and person.
She brings in the medical piece, which is important too, which we've kind of lacking at CPAC. And we have, the emergency room issues and things like that. So we're hoping that by bringing that piece of it to CPAC, it'll help bridge some gaps there.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? Motion carries. Okay, HS2. HS2 is a resolution authorizing the reclassification of one vacant social service specialist to a senior social service specialist position in the Department of Social Services. Lee?
Yeah, so this is another avenue in which we were looking at trying to create those efficiencies. And since the separation of workforce development, Gidget has worked really hard to streamline her team. And this position would allow her to have a position that can oversight the educational and the vocation education piece to the work experience, because right now she doesn't have anybody really dedicated to that. And if we want to get people employed, this is going to be the most efficient way to do that, is to have somebody managing so that when they go out, they can build those community contacts with the businesses. Did you want to expand on that?
I think that vocational education, work experience, and subsidized employment are 3 of the places that we really need to begin focusing. With the impact that Micron might have coming into it, the community, I want to start looking at the entry-level positions to help build that infrastructure. I actually have a meeting with Rachel for July 11th so we can start creating better coordination. This senior will be dedicated to that more public-facing because we do have dislocated workers in the community, but we also have a captive audience of temporary assistance individuals that we want to start building those skill sets to move into those positions as well.
Okay, do I have a motion for discussion?
Yes,
Any discussion?
yes. Is there a person that, in particular, that you're promoting to this position?
There will be. We have been interviewing for other positions, but we have internal staff who have an interest in this type of development in the community.
Okay, so what happened to that position that's being vacated?
The specialist position,
Yeah.
those duties would be reallocated to, the next resolution is specialist assistants, which are lower
That's what
grades.
We're looking at whether it's 2.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Richard?
Focused. Did you or concern about how this is worded and one thing, and maybe I just misunderstand. I'm in the core part but it says here in the summary, a renewed emphasis on vocational education. A renewed, to me, maybe I misunderstand this term, means we did it before and we let it go by the wayside.
Well, I don't
And I
know.
want to know why.
Yeah, I'm not sure we really let it go by the wayside, but I think the last 4 years has been a much different focus as far as public funding programs. And as we're coming out of some of those challenges that we're faced with the pandemic and the job opportunities, now we are renewing it under the temporary assistance guidelines. Workforce development is doing that from a public facing. We need to start doing it for people who are receiving public funds. As far as not always about going to work. There's trades they need to be learning. There's entry-level skill sets that they could be gaining. And I think for a long time, it was just go to work for people who weren't prepared to get there yet. So I would like to have this senior connect with businesses for subsidized employment, like on-the-job training. They're going to be connecting with our schools, city, Cuba Community College to look at how we can partner to get those skill sets implemented in this population, as well as that infrastructure I talked about with Micron coming in the future.
So you should be able to have some statistics on this eventually.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Because I'm just dumbfounded because our county, the majority of our employment here is vocational
Agreed.
backing.
Yep.
I mean, that's a fact. We're not in Saratoga County or we're not in Albany County.
Yes.
So I believe me, I support this 100%.
I think one of the challenges we're seeing with our population is they come in and apply for public funds and they really don't know where they want to be. So we're also implementing a workshop series where we're starting to do career exploration with people on temporary assistance as the first step, because they're just saying, I need to go to work, but we're really trying to have them understand what type of work they want to go to, which we're hoping will lead them more into these vocational educational programs as opposed to just going to work at Walmart or going to get a job at Dunkin'. Something that's going to be long and sustainable for them for the future.
Well, they got to make enough money so that it's
Correct.
worthwhile to get them off social service.
Correct. Yes.
And that's my biggest concern, get them the hell off.
Yes.
Also, Richard, just breaking off workforce development, that we're going to have to come back and visit this at some point to really help streamline what we need to do out there as well. That was under the, what workforce development wasn't, but the people were under DSS. They needed to be able to encompass more, they moved into the site.
Yeah, and part of what that position is also going to do is be able to connect with the available resources. So Gidget and I were talking, there are quite a few agencies that provide services that she could then refer people to. So maybe they're not appropriate for us, but hey, you can go over to Oswego Industries and they have some programs there that you can be eligible for. So she's also looking at, in a public-facing view, making sure we know all of the avenues that we can push people to a different referral source, right? Because it doesn't have to always land with us. It could land with other provider agencies, and that's been a disconnect that we've had.
Yeah, because you got a disconnect like that, it's not a matter of pushing, you're not going to push nobody
No,
anywhere.
but
We got to lead them there and, you know,
guide them in the right
I don't
direction.
care if you
Yeah.
put them on a bus or you drive them there personally, get them there. That's the case. Yes, I totally agree with that.
One other thing, you mentioned that you anticipate you're interviewing people. How soon do you anticipate sending that person?
I'm hoping by the end of July, beginning of August.
Okay.
We've been working with the current staff on the workshop series already, and this position will help me just drive it forward without having a split focused approach. They will actually be able to focus totally on it.
Well ahead of the Labor Day.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next. HS3 is a resolution, reclassification of 2 vacant positions, social service specialist positions to 2 social service specialist assistant positions.
We're gonna need to amend this one. The positions that are listed in the paperwork are end in 315 and 320, but the resolution is 320 twice. So we need to fix that, I think.
Yep, you're right.
So when we get there. Okay.
All right, so should we amend that now? Yeah. All right, so
Motion on that.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
315.
Again, resolution, classification of 2 vacant positions, social service specialist position, 2 social service specialist assistant positions in the Department of Social Service. Lee, can you speak to this one?
Yeah, so I think you did kind of hit on this, they're talking about the senior position. Do you want to restate what you said there, Gidget?
So these 2 positions are actually downgrades from 10s to 7s. And as we continue to just assess with the integration of both teams, I've been able to identify duties that I can move down. So this will actually create a better career ladder for people who come into the agency. Now they'll be able to go into this grade 7. And then after maybe a few years, they may be able to move up to a specialist. But there's definitely duties that we can redistribute to lower paying that will free up the specialist to focus more on the eligibility and the case management that they're hired to do.
Any discussion? Sorry, I want
We didn't.
to, motion
So moved. Yeah, second.
Okay, Richard?
Yes, Gidget, again, because you seem to be taking the lead on it, that's fine. These are vacant positions now.
Correct.
We're changing the wages on it, which I'm going to say that, you absolutely positively know what you're doing on this. Is this going to inhibit us from finding people to do these jobs?
No. So since the reclassification, we have been inundated with applications of people who want to come work in our division. So these assistance positions are going to provide more opportunity for people to not come in at 10, but come in at 7, learn the business, because nobody goes to school to do what we do, right? So I think these are great. I don't want to say entry level because they're more middle level, but they can start to do tasks that would eventually promote them into that reclassified specialist series that you all approved, which will create sustainability across our staff over the years. So this will save us money now, but in the long run, I think it's going to create a better structure within the entire division.
Well, in the long run, is we want to, hire people and keep them.
Correct.
I want to spend the money to train them, I want them to stay.
That's exactly correct.
Just give an update, how many vacancies does your department have right now?
We have 2. If these are all approved, there'll be 2 starting July 21st, and we will be full.
Favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on, HS4, resolution authorizing budgetary modification. Department of Social Service and Family Services, residential, domestic violence expenses, emergency services, shelter and care. Lee, would you like to, or?
Sure, I know this one is probably getting hot topic amongst everybody because of the size of the number that's being allocated. This is a mandated service. And I think that Mary had questions about the first 4 quarters of
Your rest.
Lori, could you help me with this one, the first 4 quarters, so that we did do it, we had to do a little deep dive into this, and I just want to be able to update you all now, because I know you're gonna have to be voting on this, right? So there was some concern about the large number in the first quarter, that we would have exceeded what we've normally done in an annual basis, right? So Lori, could you speak to that?
Yes, there was a question as to whether it's possible that in 2025, where our first quarter's front loaded for the year, because the amount that we've asked for is a projection of the entire calendar year, the expected expenses, and it's based on the first quarter of the year. Actually, the first 4 months, I should say, of the year. As compared to 2020 through 2025, whether or not in past years we've seen the bulk of our expenses in the first 4 months as opposed to spread across all 12 months evenly. It is a hit or miss from everything that I've seen. State changed the requirements of how we are able to pay and what information the users of this service have to give. And because of that, we had to create a separate account where we are making annual payments, and that's what this account is. If you know somebody's name and they've applied for cash assistance, we can pay it that way. That's not this. If they give us their name and they don't apply for cash assistance, we're able to pay it through our services Title 20. So this is for people who do not give us enough information. We are being billed to a number from the domestic violence spenders. And the state allowed this to start happening in 2019. And since then, we have seen a steady increase off and on. Our steady increase has really happened since 2023. 2023, our expenses were just over $150,000 for the year. And last year, they were just a touch below $200,000 for the year. When I project out the first 4 months of this year, I'm projecting out for, I need to set the 375, 340,000. So that's projecting out based on math. Nothing more, because I don't receive any information that we would be able to base this on anything.
Yeah.
Sarah? Well, I want you to know, so that's the money side of it, that's the bottom line side of it, but let's talk about the people's side of it, Sarah.
So talking about the safe shelter,
Yeah, it's residential domestic
Yeah.
violence.
yeah, so we wouldn't, whoever needs to go, goes if they have openings. And they used to pay for it through TANF, but now they are not required to do so, so it all comes to us. And for anybody that does not apply for TANF, it all comes through the department. So, and that's a law, we have no choice but to pay for that.
And when did that shift happen? So is that part of this explanation that we're,
The state made that shift in 2019. We really did not see in 2020 and 21, there wasn't a huge shift of people, a huge use of the domestic violence residential services. Like had something to do with pandemic. Starting in 2022, it started to increase, and then in 2023 is when we saw our big bump.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for discussion. Make a motion. Second.
Sure.
Is eligibility determined in the department, or are you simply provided a number from the state?
For these payments, there is
Not
no
for the payments, but for the actual program side of it.
So I believe they're asked at the shelter
Okay.
if they wish to apply,
Correct.
and if they decline, then it comes to the department and Gidget's team determines.
So if they say they want it, it comes in with no identifying information?
I don't know.
If they want to apply for temporary assistance, they have to provide the information because they're applying ongoing. So in order for us to make a determination, but if they waive out, then we just get a client identification number and it has to be moved into Title 20 funding. Because we have no avenue to pay it under program because they're not applying and complying with TANF rules.
How is that audited? Who audits that and who verifies that we're not getting claims that aren't just generated by the vendor or something like that?
So I have a principal currently in my team who is over temporary assistance that all of the referrals come through.
Sure.
And if there's outstanding invoices, she gets copies of them and she cross-checks them with upstairs to see where that is. So she keeps a running total of what's been approved under TANF, what she's referred upstairs to Title 20. And then if accounting gets an outstanding invoice, we match them up to decide if anything is being billed that shouldn't be.
And the state is supposed to.
Correct.
Monitoring the domestic violence residential shelter vendors.
That's the part.
They-
kind of
It's a DCIN number, I think it's
Yes.
called, right, Lori? So everyone that's not paid under program has a DCIN number, and those are supposed to be matched up the state level from what we're
the
paying.
state's auditing the ones that we can't
Correct.
really view their information.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I'm a little confused by this chart here on the second page. These numbers and somebody explain to me what that. Because I mean, I've got $1,600, which buy a good fight, and you're up to $199,000.
Looking at the variance across the years from the info memo, Lauren, so that's what Mary, I think that's where Mary's point was getting to as well, and trying to understand how do we go from just a few $1,000s to this amount of money, and so I think the discussion prior is how it happens. It's not consistent like other programs, right? So there may be a consistent flow. This really waxes and wanes, so maybe before the holidays, it really goes up because of things that are the influence of holidays not being a good time for people in good mental health, and so they might encounter more domestic violence issues versus, a different time of the year. And so I think seasonally you could see variations like that, or the summer heat coming on, that can create those kinds of issues. And so it's unpredictable. It doesn't have a predictable pattern like many other programs do.
Who determines the domestic violence issue? The law enforcement, or, it's got to be something that's driving.
Well, I think if you're in a shelter for domestic violence, it's been concluded that they are in domestic violence. And that's at the juncture that we are seeing this expense, right? So it's not like we're making the determination whether or not they've been beaten or battered or whatever, right? That determination's been made by municipalities, judges, police officers, whomever, before it gets to this point where they're being diverted or referred to us from the shelter.
Now, when you say shelters, because I ran into this unfortunately during signature time a couple times. This also means like apartments and things of that nature?
No, so these costs are strictly from an OCFS, OTDA approved domestic violence shelter. So their per diem rates are set by the state and their eligibility is set by the state. Currently, our community partner for our shelter is Oswego County Opportunities. Their staff are trained and certified and receive funding from the state for some of the services, but the actual room and board is what they charge back to us for individuals that they've admitted into shelter.
I'm just naive. Do we have enough shelter space for people?
In Oswego County, we have minimal, but if we run out of shelter space here, our regulations require that we reach out to contiguous counties to see if we can place them in another county in a shelter, but we would end up paying that bill.
Basically, we don't make a determination, we just pay the bill.
For domestic violence shelters. And I can say at a state level, we've advocated for the states to just give funding to the sheltering system as opposed to running it through the DSSs, but we have not had a lot of luck advocating for that. I know in the years I have been in DSS that we've discussed it many times at the state level at conference. Just give them a block grant to the sheltering system and take this out of that, but they haven't listened to us yet.
Does the county get any sort of admin fee for administering that? Nothing? So it's just pay the bill?
For temporary assistance, it would just be our normal reimbursement for staffing. And for Title 20, Lori would know more about that than me.
It is not, it's capped, the allocation for Title 20. But yes, we would receive.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none opposed. Motion carries. All right, moving on to HS5. HS5 is a resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Social Services, Adult Family Services, residential, domestic violence, expense and legal fees. Lee, you have anything on there, or is that,
It should just be legal fees.
This should just be legal fees. I'm sorry, it's almost like you're blending the last one with this one. This is for legal fees, transferring $90,000 from salaries and wages to cover contracted attorney legal fees, given the multiple vacancies that currently exist within the legal division. We did hire a contracted part-time attorney, but we also have an existing contracted attorney that who has been working additional hours to cover the fact that we only have one full-time attorney. The good news is we did hire a new social services, supervising social services senior, Laura Mann. So we were able to push that through last time at an emergency meeting. And so this is really what we need to do for what we have going on with our legal issues and having these contracted attorneys doing more work for us because we don't have the regular time employees.
Can I suggest that once a motion has been made and seconded, that someone make a motion to amend, strike from the title, Adult and Family Services Residential Domestic Violence Expenses. What simply reads the assessment.
what would it read? I guess.
We're getting a motion in a second.
Yes. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, you guys want to discuss?
I need a motion to amend.
Motion to amend? Second. Amended. All right, now let's vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
No vote. All right, on the main resolution, do we have any other discussion? We can open up for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed? Motion carries. Agenda for motion for resolutions. So let's go back and have departments, full committee reviews, discussion, reporting from departments, youth bureau. Okay.
Okay, today is day one of camp season for Hollis and Derby. Both of them are up and running today for the summer. Legend starts next week, but all three camps will be up and running. Hollis and Derby are pretty close to sold out. Some weeks they are. They have waiting lists for some weeks. Other weeks there's a few spots up here or there. Legends is drop-in, so we don't sell that out. That's come and go. That starts next week. With that, also next Thursday is the legislature picnic. So hopefully, if you have not responded on that, hopefully you can make it out there for a little bit. The campers are always excited to see you and staff to see what's going on at Camp House. Get a really nutritious USDA approved lunch that day. So that will be happening. We put out the RFP for the Legends contract May 21st, and they were due last Wednesday. So we have proposals in, and we will be going through those with the designated committee. And the goal is for the legislature meeting in August to be able to present a proposal to you for approval on that. So we're working with the designated committee to go through that, the proposal to stay updated for that. I did talk recently with the Oswego City School District, and they are committed to, again, work with us for the 2026 season. They'd like to do contact with the county again to be able to provide their spring softball, baseball, sports up at Legends. We also are talking to Fulton a little bit right now, and Mexico, Pulaski, and Phoenix were all using the facility this year as well too. So we are seeing an abundance of the school districts looking to work with us. Doing Oswego also worked with us with girls softball, club baseball. Have been using Legends on and off a little bit as well. It was a very wet spring, so turf was very vital for having. So that was a big savior for a lot. We're still ironing out some kinks. The outfield being natural grass, that's very wet. So this morning I met with the contractor to put up the batting cages, new batting cages at Legends. That will be starting within the next week or so. Again, part of the complex situation with that is how wet the property has been this spring, and have to bring heavy equipment onto the property to do so, but that'll be happening if not this week, then next week. I just have a little handout I'll pass around that, Champions, it's the current contracted teacher that puts on the tournaments, gives me updates every once in a while, and that I can share. And this over here will give you a snapshot of a traditional tournament weekend and how it goes forth and how they go about it. So I just have that to pass down and share a little bit. You may have seen us advertise our Challenger program. That's been pretty consistent, having around 20 to 25 kids showing up with our other Little Leaguers, and Oswego City School District athletes have been working with that Tuesdays and Thursdays, running through August. We've had a great turnout with that. Our girls softball program, we have 105 girls registered. That operates on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that runs through August 15th. We are currently opening, like I said, our Legends Camp will be starting next week. I have a flyer here I can pass along to you. Has all the information on it that you can get into what is happening with there. Let's see, Frisbee Golf. So Frisbee Golf, all 18 holes are in. So we're currently working on tee boxes and sponsor advertising for 2026, but we will have a youth league out there this summer where we will have kids that come out there. We'll have a registered program where kids can learn how to play disc golf and use it for there. We've had an interesting spring with groundwater at Camp Serby, and finally got that cleared up last week to continue forward with having backhoe, and we've done about before. I've talked a little bit about the damage in the building. The main lab got from snow. We are still waiting on the insurance company to act upon that so we can get that corrected. New pickleball basketball courts are in the process of being updated. But the buildings and grounds have to do a lot with that. They've been very busy. So we're sitting patiently waiting to get that finished. Our Youth Career Summit was last month, well, still this month, a few weeks ago, at the county fairgrounds. We had a couple legislators there, Legislator Sandlin and Legislator Jurgen. We're both there for the day. We had 561 school 8th graders show up, 651. 7 school districts, public safety and New Vision from city were there. We had 40 vendors, businesses. Interesting new additions. We had a couple robotic dogs there. The sheriff's department had one, as well as Constellation Nuclear. So those are pretty interesting to go about it. I think from drone soccer to Micron, we had a whole list of different agencies, baby cows, things to that matter. We are currently, at this moment, operating with our AmeriCorps program. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sites that are looking to operate this summer. We've been working hard to get all these, since we got, late direction from the AmeriCorps to work on things. We're working round the clock in members signed up to be qualified to operate, within the program. Our Leadership Assistant Youth Program is a flyer for that we're accepting applications for high school sophomores, ideal age, but high school age students to like the adult program that has a student Oswego curriculum teaching all the skills and traits to be future leaders within our county. That's the program we are currently operating. Our Traveling Arts in the Parks program is going. Our next performance will be July 4th at the Fulton Library. And there's a whole list on our webpage of different performances that you can find. Movies in the Park will be starting. Start first movie is July 11th. That will be right at East Park, right down that way, right next to us. And that was a collaborative effort. We work with the Sioux County Federal Credit Union. The movie will be Despicable Me 4. And then we have another movie August 15th. Harborfest, that will be upcoming quickly. My office is in charge of the Children's Park. There's a flyer for the Children's Parade if anyone is interested, and if not, we'll pass it along. We also have a summer bath happening at Fulton and Fulton Animal Free Library. This is going to happen on July 9th, so I'll pass that along. We have another program, which is our Youth Leaders in Action program. It used to be our Youth Advisory Council program, and it is a collaborative effort with the Prevention Coalition. They have YC3, we have Youth Advisory Council, we're putting the two together. This program of interest is, it'll be staffed, like I said, by my office and the Prevention Coalition. And what I'd like to do is, between a couple of youth on there, give a short report out periodically to you as a board, because part of what they're supposed to talk about is things that impact young people within our community, and then they're supposed to go about and do something about it. The power to this is, I used to be directly on that 10, 15 years ago. The power to that is you have put in the door in schools already. You have the students within that. So it's not new. This is a collaborative program that's basically being redesigned. But redesigned it this past year. Going to work with Tyler, with Prevention Coalition to make that happen. So we're doing that, and I have also flyers here. And hopefully these do not make it back to me, because you can pass them back out. I have a lot of these. These are a Southern Barkley Summer Reading Challenge. And this is basically a program that, as we all know, the benefit of summer reading and the power of reading in books, that these is the Assemblyman's summer program. So if you want to take those, you can do so. And the last thing I had to talk about was we've also started advertising at Legends Field. Part of my budget is advertising. We have 6 billboards that have been sold already, but the discussion I wanted to have with you is there a way you want me to go about that if I had to work with my friends here at DSS, or the health department, if they're HR, if they have a need to get information out there, and we know that we are serving thousands of people at Legends Fields every weekend. Do you want me to still turn around to my friend at DSS and say, well, for $350, put a billboard up? Or to the benefit within the county, some, I have been told this works, some county programs have grants and they have advertising. So they're fine with that. Like health department has some money involved in the grant advertising. So if Vera comes to me and wants to talk about vaccinations and she has a grant, they can pay for it, so we can collect the money. Or you want me to look and say, okay, my cost to get a banner made if you don't have one is X. Can I charge them that so that they can advertise up at Legends as well? So I was just looking for your direction, how I would proceed with that. Youth Bureau has a banner up there. I bought my own banner. I did not charge myself the cost to put it up there. But, I do see the benefit that, DSS has some great things if they want to put something up there. But
In regards to the foster care,
Yeah.
that is part of the subcommittee of CPAC, And honestly, it doesn't require a subcommittee, because once this is completed, then I think that it could be a great way to let everybody know that there's a need, even if they're from outside the county, you know, that we need placements desperately, so.
We have
help
6
us.
fields, probably enough room for 9 banners per field, so we're not running out of space right now. My goal next year, my budget is to sell at least 30 outside of the county, but this year, because we're in July already, it's tough to hit somebody up saying you're halfway through the season already. Take it full on. But we're doing it.
You know, one of the things, I think that it's a great idea that we offer it to our other departments. I mean, I'm sure the veterans could use some advertising for their programs that they have coming up or something, but let's not charge until we know whether they have budgets available, and if that point it's available. Not, then we probably should offer the space on our own.
I think there has to be some moderation as to what is being advertised. Some of the banners I've seen at like the bus stops are a little edgy and a little not really. It's not the place for like sexual health ads or things like that. So I think there has to be. I know that's ridiculous to say, but you give them a space. Who knows? I think we have to moderate what goes there. Fostering is absolutely perfect. I also the message that it sends to visitors. You know, we want people to enjoy the community.
Right.
Not that we want to hide anything, but there are certain advertising campaigns that are a little more edgy and more
Human trafficking.
well. I mean, I've seen the billboards and they don't really shine a good light on the county. And you know, these are generally the people that are going to these programs are in need of the lowest common program, or so they're. I bet if you did an economic study, they would fall into a higher economic range. But
for example, right now the health department is interested with rabies and healthy families. That's what they reached out to me about. Single Health has reached out. Help Me Grow has reached out.
Yeah, I think the way to proceed is figure out how much a banner costs, because you're right, there are departments out there that have grants to do public education, or some of it is funded right through their budget. They have budgets for that. Come up, you know, and you and I can work on it together and get a blessing and certain criteria that we want. Advertising needs to cast Seward County in a positive light. It needs to be age appropriate. So, you know, because you're absolutely right, there are topics that are appropriate for the playground. And then we just put it out to the department, say here's an opportunity for you, get back to us by whatever. Here's the volume of people that go through. Since a lot of these people are visitors to the county, I can see a good use for tourism there. You know, they're not going to be too interested in local programs for local families, things like that, if they're coming here from Portland or Albany County. But I think if we put some guidelines on it, get the prices to them, we'll have some departments that want to do this. Now, is there also a plan, you know, one of the things I talk about is whether we want to offer this private sector. Do we want any business advertising out there the way we do in our tourism?
Yeah.
So that's another thing to think of.
Right. So we have some private sector who have already, like I said, it's already offered approach us.
Yeah.
And then, you know, through my friend Doug Webster Jordan over here, I have a big car dealership that, again, is interested in advertising. But when we were talking with Rich a little bit about it, we also kept in mind that we have schools playing there. So clearly we don't want bars, you know, putting up there, even the school district that you're opposed to, you know, but if they're a restaurant, it's different, you know, so, but aside from that, there are certain, you know, things that somebody may write a check for, but like, so I will get together with Phil on that, you know, I think in your direction, and I agree 100% that we have been working with a design company to try to have the banners, you know, all be the same, you know, the same size, same what it's in the season, we can roll them back up, put them in storage, and then have them, depending on how we go about the future. But with having 6 fields, and, you know, I think it'll make it look really good, and then also the advertising that we can do to bring in for businesses. If you drove past it today, right on the front gate, there's a big girl one that we put up that's right on the front. It's the generating some purposes to see what it looks like. That really is what I had to offer. I thank you, and hopefully, like I said, you can make the picnic next week. And knock on wood, I have not got any phone calls today about anything camp that's not going right in either one of them.
I got one question for you, Brian. The Ultimate Frisbee, is that pay to play? Really?
Not for I don't think any of them really are that I'm aware of. You have played anything down south? So I have one thing I'm going to put in my budget for next year is the same type of thing that I'd like to make tee boxes almost like golf courses have, and then put like hole one, and then put whatever that, whether it's a car dealership that have their banner, hang their mix of that. You can generate a better income, and then if we get leagues together, that may be that type of facility for reserving it on certain nights for this leagues.
Well, I know that Ultimate's becoming very popular. My son-in-law plays it every weekend and during the week as well. And they pay to play.
Really?
Yeah, they go to tournaments on weekends. Somebody will organize a tournament and they're paying to go to the tournament. But I'll ask and confirm everything with him. But a lot of those public, they're not public, they're private courses too.
I'll let you know in September after I had my meeting with the county administrator when I'm doing my budget as when it's good.
I mean, even if it's a donation,
Yeah.
pay to play donation box, help us keep the, put a little.
Yeah, one of the things we are able to do is with the State of the Airport program, we're able to put one more staff out that's going to be focused on the disc golf course that basically try to generate more people coming through their kids and stuff, and do things like, hey, Tuesday nights are going to be, and have meet there, and maybe we'll bring in maybe people like they know to teach the kids on how to play and things to that matter. So we want to generate the interest. Interestingly enough, that there is an app, and if you go on it, you can literally see our course on there, and it shows where all the holes are and everything. So it's also that's all basically through QR code and everything we have. So it'll all be up on our webpage, but we have the whole plan in place on how we want to go about doing that. So it's all coming together. But so all 18 holes are in, so we're happy with that.
Veteran services, you're up.
Okay, so our Fresh Connect Checks program has been just as successful as last year. We have 75 left, so that's 3 people. I fully anticipate they will be gone at the latest by Friday. People are still calling, asking for them. I went to the annual picnic for the VA outpatient clinic and talked to the state guy, state VSO. He received Fresh Connect Checks as well, but he was told that we will not be getting more. Last year I was able to request more and they sent me more. The reason is because last year they gave out 100%. All the ones they made were handed out to veterans. Only 40% of them were used. So this year they didn't make as many. That doesn't mean I'm not going to attempt it. I'm going to try it. If we get rid of those by the end of this week, by next week I could submit. I'm going to request at least another 750 if I can. That's also based on whether other counties or other VSO offices are unable to get rid of ones they have. So if they just don't have people asking for them or they're not advertising for them, they can send those back and those are sent to us. So that's what we're hoping for. I went to the VA outpatient clinic's annual picnic on Friday. We were there for 4 hours and it was huge. It stayed packed. People were in and out. Met a lot of veterans that in our office yet. So we were able to get them the information so they could come start visiting us. The best part though is some of the veterans that we've already assisted were there. And we would be talking to a new veteran and they would interject, talk about how great the office was, how much we were able to help them. So that was good. There's a lot of other organizations there. People were able to sign up for healthcare while they were there, just like last year. So that was a benefit for us because we are starting to get more and more people from outside the county that are coming to our office because they either had a bad experience, in the county they're in or with a VSO. What did you call me last week from Bent? I don't know how she got our number, but she did. There's people that call my desk direct, which that number is not advertised. So I give that number out to a few people. Usually if I have a really hard case, I give it to that veteran so they can reach me directly, and that number has gotten out. It's getting to the point where we might have to start focusing on the county people first and letting people that's outside the county know that, hey, we'll get to you if we can, but can't be focusing on so many people outside the county that the people inside the county are neglected. So that's one of the things that we're dealing with now. It hasn't gotten to that point yet, but we do get a lot of veterans from Onondaga County and a lot of veterans from like Jefferson County. So, which is good, it keeps us busy. So, but that's it. And it's doing great. The new guy's awesome. He's working out really well. Ford, he's already accredited, already has access to everything. So that's helped us out a lot, especially because of this increase. Summer's here, people are back from their winter getaways, so it's starting to pick up. So yeah, it's doing good.
Okay, Sarah, Office of the Agent.
Okay. So unlike my friend over here, we have not received our farmer market bonds yet. Holidays, we're starting to ship on the 25th, so we're expecting them at any time. Because we haven't received them yet, we haven't advertised where we'll be out distributing. Hopefully we'll get them in, they might be in the office when I get back today. I'm not sure if they come, they don't come through regular mail, they come through FedEx or UPS. Once we get them, count them in, verify the numbers, then we will schedule in writing. Usually, and right now, tentatively, our first event would be next Tuesday at Cuba Community College at their parking lot to do a drive-through event. And we do have the Food Bank of Central North. They committed 200 food boxes to us at the same time. So hopefully we'll get the coupons. We'll be able to get them out. If we don't get them in the next couple of days, we will have to postpone that and postpone all the other events. We have double the coupon booklets that we received 2 years ago. We were receiving 1,500 booklets of 5. So anybody who wants a booklet will get a booklet this year. There's no, we have no fear of running out of coupon booklets coming here this year for distribution. Once they do come in though, our big event is the drive-through, then we'll be at the farmer's market, then all the 3 farmer's markets, the big ones, Oswego, Fulton, and Glasgow will be there to distribute them. We'll go to the senior building, we'll go to the nutrition sites. We go to some of the townships as well. And then we'll circle back around and we'll go back to the farmers markets and, hit up as many people as we can. And once we start distributing them, they can always come to our office and get the booklet at our office as well. So total purchasing value is $37,500. So that's going back to our local farmers. So that's good. I do not have redemption number right now for last year's, but the previous year it was 86% redemption. So our seniors who get the booklets really do go out and utilize them. So I applied to the Shinneman Foundation for a grant to support our Happy to Chat benches. So if that grant does come through, City BOCES, their manufacturing construction program has committed to making us 6 benches to distribute. I have received positive feedback so far from the city of Oswego, Fulton, and the village mayor of Glasgow to get benches in those 3 locations. We would have one at our office as well. And I also did reach out to the village of Phoenix and the village of Mexico. I have not heard back. Village of Glasgow said if no one wants the extra ones, we'll take them. So we will get all 6 benches distributed for seeing if we get the Shinneman Foundation grant. And when I did speak with them, they said they thought it would be a good application. So I'm hoping that they give us the amount that we requested so that we get the benches built and distributed. We have, and I'm sorry the header didn't come over on this, the third bullet on here, we'll be hosting a health insurance resource fair at Cuba Community College on August 14th. So that's where, and it's to follow up to what we did last year when, for our insurance, because our insurance counselors didn't have the space to do as much counseling because of confidentiality. So we started some mini fairs to get our seniors in contact with the insurance sales representatives so that they could, when open enrollment was open, that they had another resource to utilize. So this year we're expanding it a little bit to health insurance, but also community resources that come meet with people and open that door for additional resources for them. Our senior picnic will be August 20th, and it'll be at Camp Zerby. It's a little bit less people that we can fit in Camp Zerby as we have at the Mexico VFW, but it's a beautiful location, so I'm sure that we'll get all of our reservations filled for that. And Heather at Snow and Mobility Management, she is arranging transportation, so anybody who says, Williamstown or Camp Zerby so much further than Mexico, we do have transportation that will be available to them.
You put up a tent.
Put up a tent.
The wedding's all that. We got chairs and things.
Oh, okay. We are also, my watch thought I said, hey, Siri. Health Department and OFA working together. Our new space will be hosting a 79 class this fall. It's a 6-week class for those who, on falls prevention, for those who have fallen or are unsteady. We also, in our new space, beginning July 10th, there's a 6-week class-wide wellness initiative for senior education in conjunction with Farnham and the Prevention Coalition. I just had an email when I was sitting here that Governor Hochul has released her master plan on aging, so I can't wait to get back to the office and see what that has to say. We also have an active RFP right now for nutrition services. Our contract for our meals program does end with OCO at the end of this year, so we have an RFP trying to see what that might look like in 2026. This I have all shared now. This is our, I believe I mentioned it, if I didn't previously, I'm sorry about that. This is our SCC Med QR. These are bracelets that the state office for the aging has provided to us. We have 130 of them. What it is just a rubber bracelet that we'll be getting out to. We're going to go with our home care and home delivered meals participants first to see if they're interested. There's a QR code. You have to get very close to it, so it's not, no one has to be concerned about someone scanning their information. But when first responders come, they scan it, and then they will get information on the person. It'll, their name, their date of birth, their doctor, what medications they're currently utilizing, if they have any health conditions, if there are any other special information we want them to, that we don't want anybody to know about, as well as contacts, emergency contacts. So when it is scanned, it will come up on the screen of the phone with all the information, but it also will notify whoever is listed as a contact that the bracelet was scanned. So any of the emergency people will know that that happened. We have 130 of these that were provided to us, so we'll be getting them out. But they're only $20. So if anybody wanted to purchase this, there's no technology in the bracelet itself. There's just the QR code. The technology is where it goes to that web page to get the information. So $20, no annual fee. So hopefully we'll be getting, we started deploying them already. These are stickers that they can put on their window. I met with
emergency responders, so they knew what this meant and what these bracelets do. Once it is scanned, it only stays on their device for 8 minutes. After that, it times out. So, yeah, so we're excited to get these out.
Who maintains the database for that?
It is SCCQR. I mean, it is the company, SCCQR. So they maintain the database. They're based out of down in New York City.
So does the person who takes it have to actually input all their information?
They do, but we help with that.
Okay.
So we do provide this as well, so the first, you can either go to their website or you scan it, and when you scan it, then you set up an account. And then you can maintain it. So you go to the doctor and your medication changes, and you can go in and make that change or update it there. But we do have staff that will be able to help anybody that has it as well, because there are some people that just aren't comfortable with technology, or they don't have the technology to start it. So pass that around so you can take a look at it. And at our next meeting, I will have an update. I'll have a full 6 month on our meal. Providing more meals this year, that there's an uptick in the number of meals, so I'll provide you with a full 6 month picture of where we stand right now. We do have the remaining, we have a little bit of ARPA funds left, so our meals are going to be over what we had budgeted in our regular line, but I have ARPA funds that are covering that. That is particularly, it has to be spent on congregate meals or home delivered meals. So, but I'll bring that information to you at the next meeting, so you know where we stand. But that's all that I have, unless you have any questions for me.
All right. So last but not least,
Definitely never least, right? So I was invited to speak at the New York Welfare Fraud Investigations Association. This was for Gidget's division, and her team was all there. I just did a quick speech with regards to, fraud. It's a meeting that they have, and it's been hosted here a couple of times in Oswego County now. So it's great that we have the convention center, because it really is a great venue for being able to have bigger events like that. How many people do you think were there, Gidget? I mean, it was a full room.
300 maybe.
Yeah.
I think this is the third time we've hosted it in Oswego County.
Yeah. So Mayor Cordino was there, and I think we had a meeting soon after with Anthony DiMartino, met with our fraud division, because we have some cases that are, upwards between $10,000 and $15,000 that are fraud-related cases that his team is going to help us with. So we met with them to discuss some of that opportunity, and actually asked him then if he'd be interested in attending this convention next year. It's where, Gidget?
Next year's in Binghamton.
It's in Binghamton?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if he can travel or not, but he seems pretty interested in doing that. But so it was a nice event. I didn't get to stay for the whole thing. Did you want to say anything about Night with you? Since
I think we covered it.
Okay. I did meet with Assemblyman Barkley. We ended up having to do a virtual meeting with him because of his time constraints, but Gidget and Rachel attended that meeting with me. And we were able to touch on some of this big, beautiful bill, right? And his philosophy is the hurry up and wait game, right? So we're all scrambling. He understands that counties are trying to figure out their budgets and how this is going to impact them. And so he did speak a little bit about that, and just kind of throwing some caution to the wind, as is our wise sage Gidget over there, saying don't get too anxious. Let's wait and see where it lands and see where up to. It's very, very difficult to kind of forecast what that might look like for us right now. And so he kind of mirrored that as well. We did touch on some issues that we felt were pretty important, and they were timely. like the hospital issue with children being housed at hospitals for extended periods of time because we can't get placements in QRPTs or respites, and so he acknowledged that because his wife works over at Swego Health and had been chirping in his ear, so he had been hearing about it from her, which I was thankful for. And so I think there is some acknowledgement that there has to be some type of state level planning. As far as what we are trying to do locally with CPAC is we've invited Oswego Hospital to sit on it. We've invited Golisano Children's because a little birdie, maybe Rachel, told me that they are looking at a sign. Oh, it was you? Okay.
Yeah, they spoke about it, Micron.
And so they are looking at having 5 beds that could be used for emergency respite type cases. And so maybe having the hospitals on that committee for them to understand, the impact that not having it. So when our kid ends up in the hospital, it's referred to as a social placement, and it could cost us $9,000 a day. And so it's a significant expense for us as a county when we have children in this predicament. It's not the first time that we've had kids. It won't be the last, but I think I did hear somebody say at one of our recent meetings that we have had children in hospitals for as long as 7 months. 7 months. At the tune of $9,000 a day. And so I think it is something that is, I'm glad Assemblyman Barkley's wife is chirping in his ear because I think it is a conversation that needs to be had. And so at the local level, trying to, be able to work more amicably with hospitals when the situation arises and see what we can kind of work together on there. So I'm excited for the next meeting. I think the meeting is taking on a different shape now, and it's feeling pretty good. One of the other things that I did also talk about was, the TANF and housing issues. I think everybody is aware housing is needed, but we did kind of bring up those meetings, and he was very happy about the CPAC meeting. He liked the idea of getting together and kind of looking at are we duplicating services when we have all of these nonprofit agencies, 501c3s. I think when I went on our unsheltered tour with OCO, Tiffany attended that with me. I went to some of the unhoused camps in Oswego, and it was very interesting to hear how staff were kind of framing that, because they would say, well, the city has done a really good job of pushing the homeless out, right? And so that in saying it, it doesn't ring right with your ears, right? But with the recent actions and putting bars up in between the benches in the parks so that people can't lay down on them. So what has happened is this kind of enforcement has forced people to the fringes, which means now we have in Pulaski, there is a shanty town. So my hope is to go visit that there for my next one. But during that, it kind of makes you wonder, because I met a young woman that I used to work with at Arise, and she's just started a 501c3 and was looking for where to get funds. So it kind of dawned on me, you sit on a committee that gets funding from the county. Everybody is trying to carve out their piece of this pie, but how many pieces do we have out there? And so I think it would be interesting for us to, be kind of looking at that too as CPAC. How many other independent committees are out there for the protection of children? And shouldn't we be kind of banding together to mobilize our efforts a little bit better? So we are kind of taking a look at that. But one of the other things, to go back to the unsheltered visit, in going to those encampments that are located at various places, I learned that not many people are there. They have been scared out of those those camps, and what's left behind is pretty startling, the garbage and the remnants of people living in those locations, mostly behind businesses. Most of the businesses now have locks on their garbage dumpsters so that the homeless can't go in, with the exception of one. I'm not going to name them because I appreciate that it's a food business and they're leaving it open so hungry people can eat, so I don't want to blow them in. But we did also meet, as we approached people who were homeless, asking them if they wanted water. They kind of were asking, is it cold? And it wasn't cold because we didn't have coolers. We just kind of had a bunch of stuff thrown in the back of the car. And I thought that was interesting, right? Like, yeah, of course you want cold water. When was the last time you had cold water? And so there was some startling, well, I don't want to say that was startling, but some things like that illuminated, right? Things. But asking them if they had somewhere to sleep, and some people were not truthful, and they were telling you, oh yeah, I have a place, and even though they didn't, right? And then we met a young woman who had been homeless and on the streets for a pretty long time. When they told her that I was the commissioner and I was, just looking to talk with people, she had some pretty harsh things to say about DFS and her ability to access some funds through custody because of some circumstances that people who are homeless find themselves in, not having an address or not having their proper documentation, so they might not have a social security card, or that somebody took advantage of them, used theirs, and now it's deemed that, oh, you're involved in fraud, so you can't access your funds. And so she kind of went through a pretty rough story about actually being in one of the warming shelters at the library and overdosing there and having to be brought back. And she's 1 year clean sober now. She has an apartment, has a job, but she couldn't access that money at a time when she really needed food and really needed the assistance. Tiffany spoke with her for a few minutes. They exchanged some information, and the success story is she was able to access $10,000 during the time that she was homeless that she didn't have access to. So sometimes we have to look at the system, too, can be a barrier to people. So how are they supposed to get benefits if they don't have an address? Some places like OCO accommodate that and allow them to use their address, but what are we doing, right? How does that help people like her where she had $10,000 sitting out at DSS and she couldn't get it? So this is not what we want to have happen. So I think there are some things that visit kind of illuminated for me to understand what are we doing and are we creating barriers and how we're managing issues that come to our door. So we are going to be sunsetting 2 of our contracts, and that's going to be Liberty Multi-Systemic Therapy and Food Bank of Central New York. So those 2 are going to sunset. Liberty is about roughly $300,000+, and Food Bank of Central New York is about $75,000. Bridget, how much is that?
I don't know. I don't think that's our portion.
We're right around 40,000.
Yeah.
40?
Yeah.
Thank you. 40,000. And I am still interviewing for the admin assistant position. I haven't found someone yet. I'm hoping have Tiffany manage everything for me. So, I definitely need to get that filled. And the good news is Laura Mann did accept the senior social services position. Excited to have her on board. And the last thing that I would ask, only because it was asked earlier about, we table events and we do things like the Child Abuse Awareness Month. All of the things were purchased by staff. And so it makes me wonder why are staff having to pay for things that promote things that are under the umbrella of DSS how do we create a line in our budget to be able to have funds for when our staff go table events? Right now, our staff are paying for all of those things out of their own pockets. And so I really want to advocate for this team not to have to do that, right? And I paid for the child abuse awareness this year because I didn't think it was appropriate that staff do that, and they had been doing it. So I just moving forward would like to understand, where do we have a line for
What
little,
materials that they're buying?
the pinwheels that we have, so we saved them, so we bought them this year, but I said, let's return them back to the box, we don't have that expense next year.
How much they're spending and put it in their other supplies and expenses.
Other supplies and expenses? Okay. So when we do tabling events, a lot of times there's little things, or even, tablecloths that have the county logo on it.
Yeah.
All of that can come out of other supplies and expenses? Okay.
To also say that when we do RFPs for mini grants, up to $1,000, that will fit very good.
Just wanted to clarify for everyone, just so everyone's on the same page, that the 10,000 that woman, that was back child support that was owed to her. I just don't want anyone to think it was like TANF or
It's child support.
it's child support that she.
It's still money, but not.
Yeah.
Well, then you were holding.
It's not just one and done, right? She didn't get that 10 grand. She's gonna now have that, you know, monthly support that she should have been getting. She'll now have that moving forward. So I think it was a great benefit that we went out. Otherwise, this person still would be struggling, and look at, she had this whole bank of money she had access. So I don't know the granular details of what specifically happened for it to be okay now, right? But those are the kinds of things you want to avoid, right? Because, yeah, I just feel bad that she could have been gotten help all along, and she wasn't getting it for some system thing, some system error, right? So that's all I have. I hope that's no.
All right. Looking for the appropriate motion here.
No move.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I think so, you left.
Okay, other-
Thank you.
Everybody today.